Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
We're going to start today's show by telling you all about what's been happening for the last few weeks with His Excellency David Comissiong, Barbados Ambassador to CARICOM. So, good morning, Ambassador. Welcome. Great to have you with us.
Such a pleasure to be back with you on Morning Barbados after a fairly long break.
Yes, you've been away for quite some time, but I know you've been very busy. And the last visit was, over to the continent. So, share some more with us about that.
Yes, well, I just came back last night from Accra, Ghana, via London, and to give you the whole story, um, I actually went to London first. I spent a week in London as a guest of the Lee Day Law Firm. This is a human rights firm that has done legal work in relation to reparations, and I spent the week engaging with MPs, members of the African and Caribbean community in the UK, lawyers, and I also gave a keynote address. And the whole purpose was to explain to our community in the UK about our CARICOM Reparations Commission campaign, dispel any misunderstandings, and to urge our community in the UK to establish their own national UK Reparations Commission so that they could engage with our CARICOM Commission and could have a seat at the table. Because so these are photos of where I gave my address, etc., in the UK. But the point is, I think we have constituted a global reparations movement, and Barbados and Barbadians are very much playing a leadership role. Prime Minister Motley is the chair of our CARICOM, our Prime Ministerial Subcommittee on Reparations. So Hilary Beckles is the chair of our CARICOM Reparations Commission. I am the deputy chair of our Barbados National Task Force, but I've been a pioneer in this from the early 1990s. So we were also invited not only to England, but to the Accra Reparations Conference between the 14th and 17th of November. It was staged jointly by the government of Ghana and the African Union. Prime Minister Motley gave one of the keynote addresses, brilliant as usual. I was a panelist. I was on the panel dealing with historical crimes and the case for reparations. So it was a very, very important conference because it really constituted Africa coming fully into the reparations campaign and partnering with CARICOM. And from now on, we are going to go forward together, African Union and CARICOM. I think we are going to be the vanguard of this global reparations movement. That's just CARICOM was very well represented at this conference. That's just a few members of the CARICOM delegation. And the lady in the very center is Dr. Hilary Brown. She's the officer at the CARICOM Secretariat with responsibility for reparations. So perhaps I would love us to hear a little bit from that brilliant address of our own Prime Minister Mayor Amor Motley. It inspired the entire gathering in Ghana, and high-level gathering from the President of Ghana to the highest officials of the African Union. Dr. Carla Barnett of CARICOM Secretary General spoke at the conference. So yes, maybe we can hear a little bit of what PM Motley had to share.
Africa's intention to combine its efforts with the Caribbean's in this quest for reparatory justice is therefore timely, appropriate, and a much welcome development. I am confident that our collective vision and call to action can mobilize the global groundswell of support and the continued activism for fairness, justice, and equality for the people of African descent everywhere. This forum has been convened on these questions of peace, justice, and equality as we work to create an action plan for a sustainable reparatory justice process in Africa. And how do we achieve it? The answers we seek will come so long as we continue to ask the right questions. Certainly, any conversation on the future development for Africa, the Caribbean, and Latin America must include reparatory justice. The Accra Reparations Conference signifies the strengthening of ties and the collaboration between our respective nations, our institutions, our people and cultures on this long walk towards reparatory justice. The conference, therefore, joins the list of seminal international initiatives of significance to the Black and African peoples of our world. And what are these? 1. The United Nations International Decade for People of African Descent. 2. The Permanent Forum for People of African Descent. 3. The 2022 Caribbean African Dialogues, co-organized by the University of the West Indies. 4. The Decade of Action to deliver on the Sustainable Development Goals. 5. The Caribbean Communities Reparatory Justice Initiative that was launched in 2013. And 6. The African Union Study Tour on Reparations and Healing to the Caribbean, which was hosted by my own country, Barbados, in July of this year. Each initiative, my friends, building on the work of the other and doing its part to reconstruct a global society that functions, yes, to the benefit of all. ALL.
All right, there it is, part of the presentation from Prime Minister Motley.
What she's doing there, she's outlining how we have systematically built this global movement with CARICOM very much in the vanguard and doing a lot of the pushing. And so yes, and now we have this global movement, and as she says, we are determined that the historical legacies of underdevelopment that we suffer from, whether on the African continent, in the Caribbean, among our people wherever they are in the world, that those historical legacies must now be addressed. Those historical legacies that are directly related to native genocide and African enslavement. We are determined that they must be addressed. We have a fundamental right to development because of that history of enslavement and systematic plundering and looting of our resources for centuries. And I want to give a big kudos to CARICOM, because this year, 2023, is the 10th anniversary of our reparations campaign. We started in 2013. So we can see now the fruits of 10 years of very hard labor. And now we are now poised to take this reparations campaign, not only global, but to a higher level and to bring home the victory.
Now, Ambassador, I know you have another clip that you'd like for us to see from the conference as well.
Yes. The words of wisdom of our Prime Minister, again, her words of encouragement to that global African gathering. And I would tell you, the whole African family was represented at that conference in Ghana, Africa, the Caribbean, the United States, Europe. Hundreds and hundreds of delegates came in. So let's listen to Prime Minister Motley again, as she gave these words of motivation and inspiration.
It is against this background of that impulse towards equality and accountability, harnessing that determination to redress imbalances and inequalities, and to ensure that our nations and our people are not left behind, that all of the partners assembled here must resolve to redouble our efforts and to work collaboratively with each other. Over the next few days, the conference will focus on building a united front and strengthening collaboration among African nations, the African diaspora, civil society organizations, policymakers, and other key stakeholders to advance the cause of justice and reparations. The development of Africa must be defined in its own interests and image, But however, we know that the burden of the reversal of centuries of systemic oppression is not Africa's alone to bear. It is for this reason that I wholeheartedly welcome the establishment of an African Committee of Experts on Reparations as one of the most critical outcomes of this conference. Its mandate to aid in the development of a common African position on reparations and to implement the action plan for a sustainable reparatory justice process is critical to the success of the global reparations movement that we seek. As a region, the Caribbean remains firm in our pledge to deepen and grow the relationship between the Africa Union, CARICOM, and our regional brothers and sisters throughout Latin America. We will continue to apply our collective resources to devise strategies and to pursue synergies in our claim for reparations, the Sustainable Development Goals, the African Union's Agenda 2063, and the objectives of the International Decade for People of African Descent.
Ambassador?
Yes, Tisha. So she's given us all, in those few words, our marching orders. The phase ahead is all about collaboration, partnership, working together. Out of this conference will come the African Group of Experts of Africa to build out its reparations strategy in partnership with CARICOM and others. Also at this conference, it was agreed that Africa will set up a reparations fund to help fund the reparations committees and activists, etc. We are doing a similar thing in CARICOM with some outside funding. Our governments are doing some funding, but we have also sought out supplemental funding. And I must tell you what you're likely to see in the months ahead are such initiatives as the establishment of a joint African Union CARICOM legal committee, where we will bring together the legal experts to explore all of the possible legal strategies for taking forward reparations. You're also likely to see the establishment of an African Union CARICOM commission to bring our two institutions more closely together. And in 2024, we're also likely to see an African Union CARICOM conference that will be devoted primarily, if not exclusively, to the topic of reparations. So the good news, Tisha, for all Barbadians is that our work has not been in vain. You know, decades ago when we were speaking about reparations, some people could not see it, but it is manifesting beautifully and powerfully in this present time.
It most certainly is wonderful to hear that we have so many countries that are now a part of the drive. Thank you so much, as always, for coming in and giving us an update on what CARICOM is doing and the inroads that we're making in so many different areas.
My pleasure, Tisha. And next week, I will probably be broadcasting from Guyana. I should be heading to Guyana on Sunday of this week. So we'll talk again next week.
All right. Thank you, Ambassador.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning.